What is the end of the war for us? We used to say peace. Now we say victory. Those were the powerful words said by President Zelensky on the Ukrainian Independence Day, August 24th. Victory. What does it mean? A Ukrainian victory in this war means the total liberation of Donbass, the total liberation of Kherson, the total liberation of Crimea, the total liberation of Ukraine. And in time, that will happen. At the Crimea platform that was just held in Kyiv, NATO, the EU, the UK and Canada let it be known that they will be with Ukraine until the bitter end, until all of these goals are achieved. The support from the United States is also unwavering. Peace is impossible until all occupying Russian soldiers have returned home. The total liberation of Ukraine is the only way to secure a lasting peace. The total liberation of Ukraine is the only way to get rid of Vladimir Putin. The painful truth is that if this war ends in any other way than with a Ukrainian victory, it will be a Russian triumph. My last video was called 6 months of war, but remember, that is only the full-scale invasion. This war has in fact been going on since 2014. That is 8 long years of unprovoked Russian aggression. If they are successful in keeping just a single square meter of Ukrainian territory, they'll spin it as if they have won. Vladimir Putin will stay in power and they'll do the same thing again in a few years. This is called the Long War, and it is a terrible outcome that simply cannot be allowed. The only way to avoid it, as President Zelensky said, victory. Many people have started calling the war in Ukraine a war of attrition. But you know what? If this becomes a war of attrition, if this already is a war of attrition, the Ukrainians can hold out much longer than the Russians. Ukrainian intelligence are stating that Russia has no more than 45% of its missile strength left. They even wasted a high-precision surface-to-air missile to destroy a public bathroom in the Kharkiv region. Believe it or not, the Russians actually need Western technology to build their weapons, technology they can't get their hands on because of sanctions. They are also the ones in foreign land, and they have been completely terrible at transporting both reinforcements and supplies to the front. And with autumn and winter just around the corner, they'll have an absolute nightmare on their hands. The Ukrainians, on the other hand, they can just keep getting new and better weapons from their allies to the west. A new shipment of HIMARS from America just arrived in Ukraine. They will probably be transported to the front immediately and begin laying waste to Russian ammunition dumps. Moscow has actually been pretty much in a state of panic since the Ukrainians allegedly took out 10 Kremlin aircraft in Crimea. The panic resulted in Moscow pulling all of their fighter jets out of Crimea, every single one. And just on August 28th, the Ukrainians destroyed at least 3 command centers in the Kherson region. The Ukrainians have proved themselves to be absolute masters of the weapons they are being sent from the West. Not only hitting Crimea, allegedly, not only in their struggle to retake Kherson, but in Donbass as well. Everywhere they are taken, life becomes unbearable for the enemy. The Ukrainians have also become extremely good at turning civilian drones into makeshift bombers, not to mention how much damage the Bayraktars have caused the invaders. Almost 50,000 Russian soldiers have now lost their lives in the 6 months since the full-scale invasion began. But they still keep getting orders to charge the heavily defended Ukrainian lines in Donbass. And charge they do. Heavy Russian infantry assaults have been reported just south of Bakhmut, and Vladimir Putin is losing so many soldiers in these mindless assaults. But as we have talked about before, Moscow desperately needs to gain an upper hand in the war, and soon. Winter is coming. I also want to mention something else, something much more depressing. In the days leading up to August 24th, the Ukrainian Independence Day, the Ukrainians kept warning about the possibility of Russian attacks on civilians. As we are all aware of now, that did in fact happen. In the town of Syablin, far from the front line, a Russian high-precision missile struck a train station and a passenger train. Many people were killed on impact, but many also burned as the train caught on fire and quickly became an inferno. In total, at least 25 people lost their lives, with more than 50 wounded. I probably don't even have to say this, but again, there were only civilians at this train station and in this train. There were no military installation in the vicinity.
Вона знаходилася 50 метрів від епіцентру подій.
She was 50 meters from the epicenter of the events. She was given first aid by emergency medical services, evacuated to a safe place, where she was already transferred to an ambulance. Unfortunately, at the time of the rocket attack, a car with a family of internally displaced persons from the Donetsk region was passing by. The parents were killed. The child, born in 2005, was thrown onto the highway, where the head of the territorial community found him and handed him over to an ambulance.
This evil act of terrorism only had a single purpose: to terrify a nation on its most important national holiday, to scare people into submission. But every time they do terrorism, it results in the complete opposite. It only emboldens the Ukrainians. It shows them exactly what they are fighting for and what they are fighting against. And it should show everyone why this word, victory, is so important. Why it's the only option. Vladimir Putin believes Europe will buckle under the pressure from increased gas bills when winter comes. In fact, he's counting on it, but he is wrong. Now is the time to double down. Now is the time to continue the unwavering support for Ukraine. Now is the time to show Vladimir Putin what his war looks like. Now is the time to move forward to victory. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel and click the bell button. I would also highly recommend watching one of the videos that will be on your screen right now.